Hey everybody, welcome. Oh, excuse me. Welcome to FabFit Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I hope everybody had a lovely time. We had a lovely time. We went to my sister's, and usually on Thanksgiving we get together for dinner, but at lunchtime, like around 1 o'clock. This year we had dinner at 5, and I have to say, it was much more relaxing and just a nice, it was nice to have the day to cook and get everything organized. So I was super excited about that. Let me just see. All right, I'm just checking something. Hold on. All right, so it was very, very nice because usually when we have dinner at 1 o'clock on Thanksgiving, I have to get up, well, make the turkey, make the stuffing, put it in my refrigerator, and then wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to get it into the oven so it can be ready to then, you know, be ready for the 1 o'clock hour. So the fact that I didn't have to be ready till 5 was super, super cool. I got up, I made my cornbread stuffing, I got the turkey in the oven, I made dough to, um, for challah, and I put that in a bowl and to rise. And then I got to go for a hike. It was super relaxing. It gave me time to really reflect and think about things, which is usually what I'm doing when I'm hiking. And then I came back and I had time to finish everything up and get over to my sister's where we were having Thanksgiving. So it was a really nice day for me. And of course, my big quandary yesterday was it was kind of warm. Like we had some freezing cold days. Hi, Andrea, welcome. Just talking about my Thanksgiving and how relaxing it was because, um, you know, normally it's rushed because I have to be ready for 1, but today we didn't. Yesterday we didn't get together till 5, so it was really, really nice. I hope you guys had a really nice Thanksgiving as well. So the other thing was, I was starting to say, we had a cold snap, and I was super excited about that because I had made a pot of soup like the week earlier, and I was able to put it in my Dutch oven and leave it out, under the porch, and it would stay cold. But the temperature really didn't get to be freezing or close to cold enough to leave soup outside, or, my bones and juices left over from the turkey. So I decided what I would do is take the turkey apart to the point where I could basically lift the whole breast off of the rest of it, and then I could put all of the rest of it in the refrigerator to skim the fat. And I took the breast over to my sister's, and my dad is the traditional master of carving the turkey. I was afraid I was going to screw it up. So anyway, that's how that happened. Oh, hi, Kathy. Welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, you're catching me live. Oh, I'm so excited you're here. This is just going to be sort of a fun Thanksgiving, day after Thanksgiving, and then I want to talk about my new top I'm working on and my fabric search process so far, plus what I decided I'm going to do in the meantime because I couldn't find anything I liked online. So, and I spent a lot of time looking. So basically, I'll talk about that in a minute. Hi, Diane. Welcome. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. I was just telling everybody how I got to relax and not rush. Hi, Janie. Welcome. Because our dinner was at 5 instead of 1 o'clock. That's the first time we've had a dinner time, Thanksgiving dinner, in a long time. It was really, really nice. And I didn't have it at my house, which was also really nice. I cleaned a little bit like I was having company, but then I cleaned up, took the turkey, stuffing, and homemade challah and left for my sister. So it was really, really nice. So the first thing I want to do is talk about my turkey soup recipe that I make every year, because I promised I would do that last week. If you are in my J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider Facebook group, I've already posted the recipe in the group. Okay, so you won't have to like zoom in and freeze your screen to get this recipe. But I will have it, excuse, excuse me. I will have it, I'll zoom in on it on the table in a minute, so if anybody wants to take a screenshot of it, you can. But basically, I think the first thing about making turkey soup is how you season your turkey, because you're going to use all of that leftover stuff to then make your stock. So for me, I'm all about making a homemade cornbread stuffing. Now the homemade cornbread part isn't like super important, but then I put oh, Kathy says you made challah from scratch. That is one of my specialties. I love challah. Um, but also, I also am into my sourdough right now. But I'm in a little bit of a crisis with my sourdough because it's so cold in our house. I can't get it to, timing wise, I can't get it to work, my starter to be ready when I want to bake. So I might have to get one of those bread proofer boxes from King Arthur Flour, or I think they have them on Amazon too. Um, so I can control the process of my sourdough. But I do love making challah because it's literally a no fuss recipe. I can tell you that recipe in a minute. Um, but for the soup, oh, Diane says, thank you for posting. You are welcome. In addition to the recipe for the soup, I put my recipe for my stock as well. So I make homemade turkey stock first, and because I lifted off the breast and brought it to my sister's house to have my dad carve it up, all of the juices and the rest of the bones were in my Dutch oven in the refrigerator. So this morning when I took it out to start making my soup, I was able to skim off probably, I want to say almost like 3/8 of an inch of fat off of the top. So it is very important if you're going to make stock to do at least one or two skimming processes where you can get rid of the fat, because turkey does have a lot of fat if you're going to use the whole thing to make your stock. And I was saying that how you season your turkey and how you treat your turkey will affect the flavor of your soup. So I use um, I use my homemade cornbread sausage mushroom stuffing that has sage in it. A little salt and pepper and sage are the and onion are the basic savory things for that. And then I stuff the turkey with that. So inside the turkey there is a sausage stuffing that's sort of flavoring the inside of the turkey. And then on the top of the turkey, I actually put strips of bacon over the entire breast to keep it nice and moist. So those two things significantly add to the flavor of the soup. So, all right, let me just stop and say, Lean wants to ask. All right, so challah is basically like it's an egg bread, and I put a little honey in mine, so it has a slightly sweet essence of sweet because I only put like a quarter cup of um, honey in it, but it's an egg style bread, and I braided it, and actually I think I put a picture of it on my Facebook, but I can show you. I was so tired yesterday. I tried to do a post for everybody, and basically I posted it without finishing the post, so it was kind of funny. It just says Happy Thanksgiving, and then there was like two little, like a hashtag and a L or something, and so I had to just delete those things. But basically I can show you, this is what the challah looks like. So those are the ones I made, and basically I braided I braided two loaves, and I put sesame seeds on one and I left the other one plain. And then you put an egg wash on it too, so it's got that nice shiny look. So that's what challah looks like. And I'll just breeze through that recipe in a minute after I finish my turkey soup story. Okay, said you did. It was gorgeous. Well, I started posting it and then I got sidetracked because I was at my sister's, and I think I pressed post instead of waiting to finish saying, everything I wanted to say. So it was kind of funny that it just was the bread. But anyway, and then also here is my turkey. It's also the thumbnail for this video, but you can see I've got the bacon on top, and it was so soft and not soft, but like moist and juicy, it fell apart practically. So I just stuck my wooden spoon in there and lifted the whole breast right off and put it in a baking dish to bring to my sister. So that's my turkey. So basically, to make the stock, you can see here, you can read along with me. Basically what I did was I took you know, an onion and I quartered it, a couple carrots, chunked them up, you know, four or five ribs of celery and the leaves, and a couple or three garlic, smashed it all up. And I put those in my pressure cooker on saute, and I just sauteed them for a few minutes, and then I put some parsley, all the juices and bones from the turkey, not the meat, but just, you know, all the juices and um, bones. And then I put a little pepper. I did not put salt because remember my turkey had bacon on it, so I didn't want to make it too salty. So basically I just put this in my pressure cooker and cooked it for an hour in my pressure cooker. You can also do it in a Dutch oven or a large pot and just let it simmer on your stove for 2 or 3 hours. So that's where I am right now, and actually I think it's probably almost done cooking because I can smell it all the way up here from the kitchen. It smells delicious. So that's the stock. I think what I'm going to do is refrigerate it till I can skim the fat one more time. Then, oh, wait a minute. After you put in all the stuff, you fill up the pot so the water is right at the top of all the stuff. So basically that's, you know, you put the water in and then you cook it. So then after you do that, the next step is, and I may do it either later tonight or tomorrow, for the soup, you take your big Dutch oven or a big pot. I put a little olive oil in there and I chop up onions, carrots, and celery, and I just let those saute for a few minutes until they start to soften. And then I add my chopped mushrooms and I cook those until the mushrooms start to brown. And then here's the thing. The original recipe had 2 tablespoons of butter and 1 tablespoon of flour to make a roux to thicken your soup. I do that sometimes, but if I have leftover stuffing, I'll put like a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup of the stuffing in there and mix that around. And that also does a good job of, you know, give the soup some heft. You could probably do a little bit of both if you want to, but basically that's how you can, you know, what am I trying to say? Thicken up the broth. So then after you make your roux or you put the stuffing in there and let it warm up, then you put in about a cup of turkey stock and stir it in there until you make, you know, a nice roux. Then you just put the rest of the stock in there and you bring it to a boil. Then you just stick in however much noodles you like. And I like those really comforty food, hearty, thick egg noodles. And then I'll also put the turkey in. And then if you want to add like a 1/4 cup of heavy cream, it does make it a lot more luxurious tasting. Sometimes I put the heavy cream and sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'll just put a little milk in there, whole milk, depending on how I'm feeling. But basically, that's my recipe. And I have it, like I said, if you are a member of J Stern Designs Fit Sew Embroider, you can get the PDF and just print it out. Or you can just stop your screen later and just, you know, you can just jot it out or take a screenshot. But this is an amazing soup recipe. I make it every year. You know, just don't add salt. If you've salted your turkey and you're using all of that to make your stock, don't salt your soup till the end because you want to make sure it's not too salty. And then I put black pepper in there and it comes out really yummy. So that's my soup recipe. Now, to make the challah, if anybody's interested in the challah recipe, it's basically 2.5 cups of water that's like lukewarm. You need it to be lukewarm because you're going to put 1 package of active dry yeast in there. And I also put like a 1/4 cup of honey in there and I whisk it. And then what you do is you just let it sit there until you'll know if the water is too hot or too cold, because if you wait about 10 minutes, the yeast will actually bloom to the top. And it almost looks like a mushroom cloud that comes up to the top. So I wait for that to happen. So it's kind of like it's getting foamy. Then I add 2 eggs and a tablespoon of salt. Okay, so that's basically the whole recipe. Then after you whisk that, you add flour up to 8 to 9 cups of flour. That's why I made 2 loaves. And you keep working it until you get a nice consistency. I always try to add the least amount of flour as possible. Then you just turn it out onto your work surface and you knead it for 10 minutes. So after you knead it for 10 minutes, it makes a nice ball. You put it in an oiled, like a bigger bowl that's got oil in it, like olive oil. Put the dough in there, put a towel over it and let it rise for 1.5 to 2 hours. Then you take it back out and knead it for 5 more minutes. And then what I do is I split it into 2 loaves and I braid the loaves like you saw the picture. And then you put them on a baking sheet and I put oiled parchment paper on top. Put a towel back over it and let it rise for 45 more minutes. And then you just stick it in the, before you stick it in the oven, do an egg wash so it looks nice and shiny and pretty. So you beat 1 egg and just brush it all over the top. And then you can put seeds on there, like I put sesame seeds or no sesame seeds, whatever. And then basically you just bake it for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the size of the loaf you do and how your oven works. But one thing that I almost screwed up on, I put a double layered insulated cookie sheet on top of my rack, and then I'll put the pan, the baking pan with the bread on top of that. Well, my turkey was on the insulated cookie sheet, which I pulled out of the oven. So when I put the bread on, it was right on the rack, and it got a little bit dark on the bottom. It didn't burn, but it got a little bit darker than I like. It wasn't an issue because there really wasn't any bread left by the end of dinner, so I think it's okay. People liked it, so it worked out fine. But that's how you make challah. It's a very simple recipe, and that recipe comes from the, I don't remember the name of the cookbook. It's an old vegetarian Jewish cookbook. I want to say Yearwood or Earwood, something wood, and it's Rachel's Deluxe Challah. I can't take credit for that recipe, but I have been using that recipe since I started baking bread like 15, 20 years ago. So anyway, those are the 2 things that I wanted to share with you in terms of 2 of my favorite recipes. I mean, I guess the challah is a bonus recipe. But anyway, so those are, there is that. Now, I spent a lot of time looking for fabrics to work on this top. So, I started looking, and I went to all of my favorite websites. So like I went to, I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second. I went to Fabric Mart, I went to LA Finch Fabric, I went to Gorgeous Fabric, and I even went to Marcy Tilton. Now Marcy Tilton has a ton of high-end fabric, so if you're looking for something special, go to Marcy Tilton and you will find it. But I just couldn't find the right combination of what I thought I wanted. And then I started going in a few different directions. Like I started thinking about, oh, I want it to be velvet on top, or oh, I want it to be, something soft and drapey on the bottom. And then I couldn't find 2 things that worked together, and I started to get frustrated. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go to New York. And luckily I live very close to New York. Well, 3 hours without traffic. 2.5 hours without traffic, 3.5 hours with traffic. So I may take a road trip to New York one day next week and just do some fabric shopping, because I really like to feel the fabric and see the fabric. Plus they have a lot of good trim shops and different other things. So maybe when I do that next week, I'll just post pictures on my, my Facebook and Instagram, so you guys can see where I'm shopping in New York City in the garment district, because it's really kind of a luxury to be so close to a big, fabric stores, blocks of stores. It's not as fabulous as it used to be. Like 20 years ago, it was wall-to-wall fabric stores, and many of them have closed because of the rent and other things. But basically, that's what I think I'm going to do to get my fabric. But in the meantime, oops, I got to bring this back. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so in the meantime, what I'm going to do, my daughter has a bunch of things that she does not wear anymore, and basically they're in a heap on the floor. So I found these 2, I found these two shirts, and you can see these shirts are, I think they're basically polyester georgette. And you can see that they're all wrinkled because they literally were heaped on the floor. And the thing about these garments is they were expensive, and they were, they were, she always buys really nice stuff. So, these were a little bit of a pricey thing. I really don't think she's going to wear this anymore. So this shirt right here, let's start with this one. Okay, let me make it so it's bigger. So this is a wrap. So see, it crosses over, it crisscrosses. So there's a big triangle of fabric on this side, and there's also a big triangle fabric on this side. And then the detail is at the shoulder, there's these little hot press silver crystals. They're like, the heat and press crystals. So I thought what I would do is I'm going to throw this in the wash first. Then I'm going to cut it apart. And basically, once I cut it apart, I'll be able to put one half of my upper bodice on this shoulder and the other half on the opposite shoulder. So see how this is practically shaped like my shirt, right? Let me get the pattern piece. I have a lot of pattern pieces going on right now. All right, let me just see here. Let me just show you here. So this way I'll be able to test this without waiting until I can go buy fabric for it. But basically, okay, so you can see how this will work out. I'll be able to put one of my pieces on this side. Here's my center front. And you'll see I'll be able to take advantage of all of this snazzy stuff on the shoulder. And then on the other side I can flip it over and oh, maybe I'll do it like this actually. This is my center front. Sorry. So I'll be able to put it like this, and I'll be able to get, I'll be able to take advantage of all this sparkly detail. And then those will be my top pieces. And then for my bottom pieces, see, I've got all this fabric in the back here. Maybe I can cut out a sleeve out of this. I don't know, we'll see. And then this shirt is another shirt that she doesn't wear anymore. And I think this is also a georgette, so I think I'll be able to cut out, it has buttons down the, maybe what I'll do is I'll leave the buttons, there's buttons right here, maybe I'll just leave those right down the center of my shirt, because you can see that this is pretty, it's very soft and drapey. So maybe I'll pick the pockets off and have a button placket going down the center just to test it, and then in the back I can cut out the other, I can cut out the back from this. Or maybe I'll use polka dots for the front and put a solid back, use the back of the other shirt for the back. So those are the things I'm thinking of doing for, to test my shirt pattern. And because this is soft and drapey, this will give me a good idea if, a soft and drapey fabric is gonna, hang nice, and if I'm going to be happy with the way it looks. I can play with the ease in the bottom part of the garment if I see how it hangs when it's soft and drapey like this. So this is going to be my plan for working with my next stage of doing my new top. So I guess my point here is, if you have things in your stash or garments in your stash that you don't wear anymore, it could be a good idea to recycle your fabric, and then you can, instead of, recycling them, I mean, you can obviously donate them too. So, I mean, if you have things that are nice and you want to donate them, that's a wonderful thing to do. But if it's something that has a spot or a rip or something that's, not really wearable anymore, recycling your clothes to try new clothes is always a nice thing to do. One of my pants fitting students in last weekend's top down center out pants fitting class um, actually was cutting apart her previous pants muslins, cutting off the center back and crotch points to make new rectangles of fabric to then cut out new muslins. I thought that was kind of clever too. So, I'm always trying to recycle, reuse, especially if I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to like that kind of fabric for the design I'm working on. I think, I think that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to wash them first. And then here's another thing I'm thinking about doing. Because, oops, come back to me. The way I have my camera set up today, I feel like it's in my face when I'm talking to you, without my table shot, so I keep swinging it around. But basically, you can see this fabric is going to be a nightmare to cut out on grain because it's so shifty. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray it with Material Magic. So remember I showed this to you. A different day, and this stuff is like spray starch, so I think I'm going to spray these down after I wash them, let them dry so they're stiffer, so I can cut and sew easier. And then here's another tip. When I was perusing Marcy Tilton's fabric selection, I was looking at her velvets, and she had this really great tip that she says that couture houses use when they're working with fabrics that want to travel away from you. And I think I'll do a test on this next week, because you never know, I may end up with a velvet for the top part of my top once I go actually shopping in person. So what she said to do was, let's pretend this is my velvet and I'm going to sew this edge. She said to basically block out the seam allowance like this. So wherever your seam allowance, put paper on your cutting table, like newsprint here, block out your actual seam allowance, and then she recommended using 505 spray to spray the edge, and then you can stick the edges right sides together so that that edge does not slide around or shift off of each other when you're sewing. So I was a lover of 505. 505 works great, but also it's very toxic. It's got a lot of fumes in it. So if you want to try the idea of, if you're working with something that's tricky and it's shifting around on you, try using the KK2000 spray, because it's non-toxic. But basically, I think this would be kind of a cool idea. Again, once you've got your edges where you're going to sew, and you only probably have to spray one edge, right? So spray it, and then stick your other edge like this, right sides together with it, and then you should be able to sew those nice and accurately without the fabric traveling on each other. So that was an amazing tip. Marcy Tilton, I'm not going to take credit for it. I saw it on her website. So I think that's a very cool tip for working with tricky fabrics. And when I start working on my top, if they feel like me and my camera are best friends, hello, I'm going to move it out of the way again. So I think when I start working on my actual top with my actual fabrics, I'm going to, test it on some scraps and see if it works. So I'm kind of excited about that, because, anything that you can do to make sewing something easier or more accurate, right? Plus, if you stick them together, they're not going to stretch either. Like, I'm kind of excited to try this. So I'll definitely be trying it next week, next FabFit Friday, because by next FabFit Friday, I really want to have this top going together. So we'll try it next week if you want to If you want me to be the guinea pig, I'm going to try it. But it seems to me like it would work. And then, you know, things like this wash away. So it's not like it's going to stay there. And it's not like using the Wonder Tape. Now, Wonder Tape is wonderful too, but you have to take the time to, you know, press it on neatly with your finger and then peel the paper off and line it up. So I almost think this might be more no fuss, no muss. So I'm kind of excited about this. And again, Sulky KK2000 does not have noxious fumes like 505 temporary adhesive spray. And I use 505 temporary adhesive spray for years. I use it to adhere my stabilizer into my hoop when I'm embroidering, but I've switched to this because it's non-toxic. So that's my little post Thanksgiving FabFit Friday. I really wanted to be farther along with everything, but honestly, just between you and me, it was nice to kind of go. I didn't take days off per se, but I also spent more time not doing J Stern Designs work this week than usual, so it's kind of nice to take a little bit of a break. I am super excited about my new pants pattern, and I think next week I will show you that as well, because by then I'll have it sewn up into a two-leg muslin, and I'm hoping to have that ready for the first of the year. Well, like the begin in January at some point. So I'm going to be working on that, and then I'm going to be working on, and I know this is related, I'm sort of adding it in. I was going to make 3 new pants patterns, which I will, but I also want to do man jeans, and I want to do man jeans for 2 reasons. Reason 1, my husband bought new Levi's jeans, and literally the crotch is almost hanging down halfway to his knee in the back. And it's so, and I don't care how it looks. He's, you know, if he loved that and he thought that was fine, I would be fine with it. But it's really uncomfortable to have your crotch curve hanging so much lower than you. So I have a man jean pattern already drafted. I just haven't done anything with it. So it started. So I'm going to be working with my man jean pattern with my husband, because also I got a very detailed question on my YouTube from a man who's interested in fitting a crotch curve. So I don't want to speak to it until I try it with the man body. So I'm going to be doing that. So Diane wants to know, does the KK2000 give a smell? I don't think so, but you know what? I'm feeling like we should try it. So let me just get something we can squirt it on. Oh, you know what we can do? We'll do a little mini test here. All right, so let me go back to this one. All right, so this is just a plastic bag from ordering stuff from my priority envelopes from the post office. So there's my background. Let's just try this whole thing and see how it works. I'm going to put this right here. Let me find a straight part. So let's put this right here. I'll put this right here. Let's pretend this is my seam allowance. Then you'll have to trust me on the smell-o-vision part, because I'll let you know if it's fumy. I can't remember. I haven't used it in a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to spray it. And then I'm going to... There is a slight odor, but it's not... I don't smell it anymore. Like, literally, initially there was a little bit of a smell to it, but it's not bad. All right, so the other thing is you can see it. Let me just zoom in so you can see. See, it's got that slight... so see that little white film? That's the KK2000 spray. Then I'm gonna... Let's just stick it to this other garment here, just to make it easy. So I'm just going to stick this onto here, and let's see if how this works with this fabric. All right, so let's look at this. So if I press this on, you can see, I mean, I can peel it off, but also, see, it's staying on. See how it's staying on there? So I think that's going to be a good idea. I mean, you know, obviously you don't need to do it for, every project, but you know how when you work with things that travel away like velvet or things that smush on each other and try to push away from the presser foot. Having them stuck together like that, I think will really make it easier. So not a ton of smell. And then if I smell it, I can barely smell anything on the fabric itself. So I think it's pretty good. So it says it's highly concentrated, non-flammable, state-of-the-art spray nozzle, and you get precise spray pattern. You can direct exactly where you want it. No wasteful spraying. Safe for you. Safe for you, safe for our planet. So I'm all about stuff like that. All right, let me just stop. Oh, hi, Diane Bacon. Welcome. I shared my turkey recipe and my bread recipe and how I'm reusing garments to work on my new top because I couldn't find anything I liked online yet. Miss D says, good evening, Jen. Recycling is great. I used old t-shirts to make shorts or vests to wear at home. Yeah, it's amazing what you can find. I mean, sometimes the best fabric store is your closet or your family member's closet. So I think it's kind of cool. And Diane says, thanks, she's going to give it a try. I'm pretty sensitive to sprays and just can't use 505. Yeah, I started to get alarmed when I really read the label. So I think 505 is pretty heavy duty. So I was talking with Eric Drexler from Sulky. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he's been a Sulky educator for years, like decades. And I knew him when I first started out, and we had booths next to each other at the National ASG conference this July. So I was talking to him about it, and he was telling me all about how fabulous this stuff is. So I think I put a link to it in the description. I don't know if I copy pasted it into this one, but I did put a link to it in Amazon, as well as this stuff. I'm going to also try the Material Magic to make my shifty polyester Georgette behave when I'm cutting it out. So those are the things I'm going to be doing. So, yay. So this is my nice, relaxed, I was going to say I didn't even do my hair and makeup, which, I mean, I'm saying that, but half the time I don't do it anyway. So, you know, I just feel very like I don't know, taking a little half break. But for Fit Tip Tuesday this week, I am going to wrap up my series on top down, center out pants fitting. I started it to, okay, so I started doing top down, center out to learn about it, and then there are things about it I really love. So on Tuesday, I'm going to show you how I would fit jeans using top down, center out method. And then I'm going to, I don't want to say I'm going to move on because I love a lot of the aspects of top down, center out, but there are other things that I want to play with in combination with hanging a leg off of your waist. There are things about the pattern I think need to be addressed, and I don't want to muddle up what Ruth is trying to show you guys, because I think she has a lot more things she wants to share with you, and I'm sure it's all going to be amazing stuff. But going forward with my new patterns, and especially when I start working with a more slender fitted leg, I want to be able to combine balancing the leg, you know, by using the separate waistband, draping it on your leg, top down, center out. But then I also want to combine some of that with some of my traditional pants fitting. And one of the things about top down, center out is you do not cut in the pattern. Like, you don't change the pattern draft. You maintain the shape of the pattern. You don't slice through and make adjustments. And I think for me and my personal, you know, teaching style and my personal fitting style, I want to still be able to do those things, but I don't want to confuse the issue by calling it top down, center out, because it really won't be that at that point, because I'm going to completely, well, I'm going to sprinkle J Stern designs on it. Let's put it that way. So I'm going to be wrapping up my top down, center out series this week with the jeans and showing how I would do that, which I'm going to just, spoiler alert, there's things in my method for jeans that are not the way someone doing a purist top-down, center-out method would do it. So, I'll talk about that more on Tuesday, but I just want everyone to know, if you're listening to me, you've never heard about top-down, center-out, definitely go check it out. I'll put a link to my series under this video so you can check it out. And if you're making wide leg pants, you can fit those 100% with 5 simple steps. And I think Ruth did such an amazing job coming out with this method, and and she shared it with everybody, and she was very, very helpful in ramping up my understanding of it. So I will always be highly praising Ruth and the top-down, center-out method. I just want to go off and try some other things now, which are anything pants fitting is very exciting for me. So I'm super excited, and that's what will be Tuesday. And then Friday, I will be back with the actual fabric that I'm going to be making my top out of for the holidays, for the either Christmas or New Year's. And I'm hoping I'll also have the shirt sewn together out of these reused garments. So that's going to be my plan going forward. And I really want to thank each and every one of you for joining me. I don't know if you saw on my Instagram, we've gotten over 35,000 subscribers. Isn't that exciting? And I have to thank each and every one of you for joining me, because, I wouldn't be growing if people weren't, following along with me and, taking the time to watch my videos. So I appreciate all of you for that. And, I'm very excited. I'm feeling I have so many exciting things I want to work on that I can barely stand it. So I'm going to be spending all weekend just working on sewing things and trying things. So I'm like really excited. I hope you guys are feeling, I don't know, sewing motivated to do some stuff too. But anyway, so that's really all I have. If anybody has any questions, does anybody have any questions or comments? Does anybody have a recipe they want to share? If anybody has a great recipe and they want to share it, I can post it, or take a picture of it. I can even put it on the community tab in my YouTube channel. So if anybody has anything they want to share, just email it to me and I will figure out how to share it. Or if anybody has any questions, I'll wait a couple minutes and then I'm going to sign off. So I got to go check and see what's happening with my turkey stock and my pressure cooker. So I can move it, strain it, and move it into the refrigerator, so I can start my soup at some point. So that's going to be my plan for the rest of today. All right, so I think I'm going to sign off then if there are no further questions. I hope you enjoyed this little informal FabFit Friday after Thanksgiving. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. I will see you guys next weekend. And thank you so much. Oh, Lean says, thank you for the challah recipe. I'm going to be so excited to hear how it comes out. It's really a very easy recipe. One time, I forgot to put the eggs in, and it was already I'd already kneaded it for 10 minutes, and then I realized it was kind of stiff, and I'm like, oh, I forgot the eggs. So I literally cracked the eggs onto my kneaded dough, kneaded it for another few minutes to incorporate the eggs, and it still came out okay. So there's really, as long as your yeast blooms, there's really no way to screw it up because it really works out well. Miss D says, do you have a no butter frosting for cupcakes? 7-minute frosting. 7-minute frosting? Let me see here. Hold on. I haven't, hold on. Let me just look really quick. 7-minute, I think 7-minute frosting. Just hold on here. 7-minute. I don't even know if it's officially called that, frosting. Okay, so King Arthur Flour has a 7-minute frosting recipe. And basically, all you do is you put, I'll show you in my little thing here. So the recipe for 7-minute frosting is, let me make it darker so you can see. I think, is that sharp? I think you can see that. Okay, so it's 1.5 cups of granulated sugar, 1/3 of a cup of water, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of corn syrup, 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar, and a pinch of salt. And then you can flavor it with vanilla. So they use their King Arthur vanilla. Basically, you put all that stuff in a bowl and you do it on your electric mixer. Oh no, first you put it in a pan and you heat it up to 161 degrees, and then you keep beating it for a few more minutes. And it just makes this nice fluffy frosting. And then you can also color it with a little food coloring if you want to make it like a color, but 7-minute frosting does not have butter. That's the first thing that came to my mind. Whoops. So there is a no butter frosting for cupcakes or anything else for that matter. All right. This is exciting. I love talking about things, cooking. I'll tell you, if you guys follow Mimi G, Mimi G is a force of nature. She's amazing. She started out, just teaching on this nondescript platform for videos before Craftsy started. Then she started teaching on Craftsy. She built herself into an entire brand. So now she has recipes and she has projects with like Walmart and their ingredients. Like, it's like I could become a lifestyle brand, J Stern Designs, sewing and cooking and baking. I don't know. I don't think I have time to do all that, but it is kind of fun sometimes to take a break to talk about baking and cooking because I do love doing that as well. But anyway, so, all right. If anybody else has any questions, because if you guys are good, I'm going to stop rambling along. I can always tell when it's time for me to go because I start talking aimlessly. So thank you guys for watching. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions about anything in today's live, please post those and I will help you, especially if you have any questions about making your turkey soup or challah bread. I will help you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will see you next week.